Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you an American thriller film, Before I Wake. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins with a boy named Cody, sleeping in his bed. A man enters Cody's room, and we can see him holding a gun with him. He hears a noise outside, and hurriedly shuts the door. Then he proceeds to point the pistol at the kid, apologizing to Cody. Suddenly, the door behind the man opens, and he gets scared. He starts shooting towards the door, and Cody wakes up from the commotion. Then the man drops his pistol, and starts to cry in front of Cody. In the next scene, we can see a couple named Mark and Jesse, and that they are looking to adopt. The adoption agent gives few pictures of Cody, and tells them that he's only 8 years old. She tells them that his birth mother had died when he was 3. Additionally, she mentions Cody's first adoption, and tells them that they were not a good fit for him. She also tells them that the second couple who adopted him had abandoned him in an apartment, and later the agents had saved him when they went for the annual follow-up. That lady tells them that she likes Cody, and informs them about his sleeping problems, which were caused by the past adoptions. The couple tells the lady that they are ready to adopt Cody. Later, the couple goes to their home, and prepares their home for Cody's arrival. Mark removes all pictures of his late son, except the family photo of them. Later we can see Jessie in a grief counseling therapy group, and when it's Jessie's turn, she says that they have decided to adopt a new child to their home. The therapist appreciates Jessie for her initiative. Back at home, Jessie goes alone into the bathroom, and stares at the towel rod for a while. Then she goes near the tub, and grabs the towel rod. Suddenly, she gets some visions, and when she grabs another rod, she gets another vision of her child struggling inside the bathtub. Jessie gets scared, but calms herself down, and moves away from the place. We get to know that the boy in her visions is her son, and that he had accidentally drowned in the bathtub. The following morning, the adoption agent brings Cody to the couple's house, and introduces him to them. Little Cody greets them with a handshake, and says good morning. Then Cody enters his new home and removes his shoes, saying that his shoes will make the floor dirty. The agent praises the couple for their lovely home, and Mark tells Cody that he can do whatever he wants. Then they take Cody to his bedroom, and Cody touches the butterfly printed blanket. The agent tells Jessie that Cody likes butterflies, and he collects them sometimes. Later that night, Jessie puts Cody to bed, and Cody compliments her, saying that he likes her eyes and that they are pretty. Jessie and Mark leave Cody's room, and bid him good night. Once they leave the room, Cody opens the box which he brought with him. He takes a sip from the drink, and starts to explore the life cycles of butterflies inside the bedsheet. The following morning, Mark takes Cody to school. The teacher and all the classmates welcome Cody, and a girl in his class smiles at him. Then scene shifts back to his home, where we can see Cody bathing in the same bathtub. Jessie seems quite worried, and waits for him by the doorstep, until she makes sure that he is okay. Later in Cody's bedroom, Jessie finds his box under the bed and opens it. She gets shocked after finding some pills in the box. Meanwhile, Cody is seen talking about butterflies to Mark, then Mark goes away after putting Cody to sleep. Jessie comes to Cody, and inquiries about the pills that she found in his box. Cody reveals that he doesn't like to sleep, and tells her about the canker man, who comes after Cody sleeps. He adds that the canker man had eaten people in the past, and even tells Jessie that he had eaten his mother. After hearing this, Jessie calms him down by telling him a story. Then she continues to tell Cody that he is in a new home now, and that the canker man won't be able to find him. But Cody says that he will find him, since he's always with him. In the next scene, we see Jessie and Mark in the living room, when Mark spots a butterfly fly in front of the TV. To their surprise, they find many butterflies all over the living room. So Mark goes take a jar to catch the butterflies. Meanwhile, Jessie starts wondering where the butterflies are coming from. Then Mark returns with a jar and catches a butterfly. Suddenly, all the butterflies disappear from their living room. Mark gets confused after finding the butterfly inside the jar had also disappeared. Later that night, Jessie is seen taking her sleeping pill, and she notices a little kid running upstairs. So she checks the bathtub, and goes to Cody's room. But after searching for a long time, she doesn't find anyone. The next morning, in the group therapy session, Jessie confesses that she saw someone last night, and she believes that it was her son Sean. She also tells that Sean knows about Cody, and that he's angry with her for replacing him. Hearing this, the therapist convinces her that it was a dream, and that Sean was not haunting their place. Later, Cody is seen staring at the couple's old family photo in the living room. Then Mark talks about his son Sean, and when Cody asks about his death, Mark doesn't say anything. Finally, Cody ends the conversation by saying that Sean looks fun. Later at night, as Cody closes his eyes, the blue butterflies appear again, and one of them lands on Mark's hand. Suddenly, Jesse and Mark find their son Sean standing in front of them. Jesse touches him, knowing that he's real. She hugs him. But when Cody opens his eyes, Sean vanishes away. Cody comes downstairs and apologizes to them. Then he goes back with a drink, and they both get confused by his attitude. A day later, when Cody returns from school, Mark surprises him with his favorite pizza. After a while, Mark and Cody can be seen playing a game. Then Jesse plays a Christmas tape from last year and shows her son Sean to Cody. He sees Sean giving an Eskimo kiss to Jesse in the tape. On the same night, the couple again finds the bright-colored butterflies all over the room. To their surprise, their son Sean appears again near the Christmas tree, and they see him unpacking the gifts just like in the tape. Jesse goes near him, and Sean gives his mother an Eskimo kiss. Mark from the other end calls his son Cody instead of Sean, and Sean turns towards him weirdly. Suddenly, all the butterflies turn into a monster, and goes to Cody's room. The monster enters his room and tells him that it will always be with him. As Cody wakes up in fear, the monster and Sean disappear. The next day at school, Cody draws the monster, and tells his friends that doing this keeps the monster away from him. Later that evening, when Mark and Cody return home, they find all the pictures of Sean back on the wall. Later that night, Jesse tells her husband that they need to let Cody sleep, so they can see their son Sean again. But Mark doesn't seem to like this idea, since it would be like they are using Cody for their selfish desire. He yells at Jesse, and proceeds to remove all the photos of Sean from the wall. The next day, Cody goes to school, and gets bullied by a boy named Tate. But Cody avoids him and goes to his class. Later during their class break, Cody sleeps on his desk, and Tate arrives to bully him again. Unfortunately, the butterfly monster appears, and takes away Tate. The girl who sits next to Cody comes to the class and starts to scream in fear. This wakes up Cody, and the monster disappears. Later that day, Mark comes to Cody's room and finds him upset. Cody tells him about his day, and all the things that had happened in school today, and Mark comforts him by saying that everything will be alright. Once Mark leaves the room, Cody drinks Jesse's black coffee, so that he won't fall asleep. Jesse waits for her son Sean in the living room, but since Cody is still awake, Sean doesn't appear. Cody starts going through his butterfly book under his bed sheets. While reading, Cody hears some noise under the bed. So he bends down and looks under it, but finds nothing. As he gets up, the bully boy with a terrifying face scares the smelly shit out of him. Meanwhile, Jessie sees her son Sean standing in front of her, and finds him saying that he is awake repeatedly. Suddenly, Cody gets pulled by the scary-faced Tate under the bed. Now, both Sean and Cody start screaming that they're awake, and as expected, Sean disappears immediately. The next day, Jesse and Mark are talking to officers. The officers had come to investigate Tate's disappearance. Later, Cody asks the couple about Sean's death. But Mark takes Cody away without answering. Later that night, Jesse adds a few sleeping pills to Cody's milk and cake to make Cody fall asleep. That night, Mark makes Cody sleep in a new room and tells him that his son Sean had accidentally drowned in the bathtub. After making sure that Cody has slept, Mark leaves the room. Downstairs, the couples find their son standing with a large gift box in the living room. Suddenly, the canker man comes out from the box and scares the shit out of them. Mark rushes to Cody's room and tries to wake him. But Mark couldn't wake up Cody because of the pills. As the canker man approaches them, they try to defend themselves. But unfortunately, it takes Mark away and knocks out Jesse. Cody manages to wake up and calls 911. In the next scene, the officers find Jesse incompetent to look after Cody, so the officers take Cody away. The following day, Jesse goes to the adoption center to speak with Cody, but the agent refuses her request and makes her go away. Then Jesse visits the man shown at the beginning of the movie. He was the one who had adopted Cody before. Jesse asks him about Cody's dreams, and the man replies that his dreams are real and deadly. He says that he lost his wife after adopting Cody. To Jesse's shock, the man advises Jesse to kill Cody to put an end to this. Jesse gets pissed off and leaves the place. Later, Jesse finds the details of Cody's mother and finds some of her belongings. Meanwhile, at the adoption center, a caretaker injects some medicine into Cody, to make him sleep well. Later, Jessie goes to the adoption center and finds it haunted. As she goes further, Jessie finds the agent being haunted by the canker man. Then Jessie goes inside a room and finds her son Sean, who is drowning in a bathtub. But she ignores him and goes further. When she walks through the corridor, she finds many people being haunted by the canker man. Finally, Jessie finds Cody sleeping and approaches him. The canker man comes towards Jessie, but she takes out a butterfly cloth made by Cody's mother, and it calms down, and Jessie hugs it. Slowly she sees the canker man turn into Cody. Then Jessie takes Cody with her and goes back home. There she shows Cody his mother's journal. We get to know that his mother's name was Andrea, and she had pancreatic cancer. On the verge of her death, she was bald and skinny. So little Cody made up his mind that the canker man had taken his mom away. We also get to know that the name Canker Man was derived from the name Cancer Man. Now, Cody understands that the Cancer Man was not real, and Jessie believes that her husband will come again if Cody controls his powers in the future. Then Cody thanks Jessie for bringing him home and finally calls her mom. As the movie ends, Cody learns to control his powers. He brings back all the people taken by the Canker Man. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Peace out.